When it comes to wine and food, there are some basic rules that apply. Now, before you go thinking that you need to be a sommelier to get these right, don't. Because today we're going to take a look at 4 simple wine and food pairings that will make you feel like one. So let's get into it. We'll start with arguably the most important pairing tip of all, and that is to match the weight of your wine with the weight of your food. In other words, pair a light wine with a light meal and a full-bodied wine with a full-bodied meal. This doesn't mean that you can't experiment and have fun with food and wine pairings, but it's a good rule of thumb to follow, especially if you're new to wine. Let's take burgers. Burgers are generally high in fat and protein and are often topped with cheese, which makes them pretty full-bodied. And because of this, they're going to go well with a full-bodied wine, like a Cabernet Sauvignon. The tannins in the wine will cut through the fat of the burger and help to cleanse the palate between bites. On the flip side, a light dish like a salad is going to pair well with a light wine like Pinot Grigio. Here's another tip when it comes to wine and food pairing. Acidity is your friend. What this means is that you want to look for wines with a good amount of acidity to cut through the richness of fatty foods and to help cleanse the palate. A great example of this is a Sauvignon Blanc with a nice fatty fish like salmon. The acidity in the wine will help to cut through the richness of the fish and prevent it from becoming too heavy or overpowering. Another fantastic pairing is a light-bodied red wine with pork. Wines from the Pinot Noir family are a great option here. They have enough acidity to cut through the richness of the pork, while also having the structure to stand up to its savory flavor. So far, we've talked about matching the weight of your wine with the weight of your food and how acidity can be your friend when it comes to wine and food pairing. Now let's talk about another important factor: sweetness. Generally speaking, you want to pair sweet wines with sweet foods and dry wines with savory foods. This might seem obvious when it comes to pairing wine with dessert, but it's not always so clear-cut when it comes to savory dishes. For example, many people enjoy a glass of red wine with their steak, even though red wine is typically dry and steak is not sweet. However, there are some general guidelines you can follow. For example, you can add a little sweetness to a dish with a sauce or glaze. And if you do this, a dry wine with a little bit of residual sugar, like a late harvest Riesling, can actually work very well. Or you can go the opposite route and choose a sweeter wine with a spicy or boldly flavored dish. For example, a Zinfandel would be a great choice with a spicy Thai curry. Finally, don't be afraid to experiment. One of the best things about wine and food pairing is that there are no hard and fast rules. There are guidelines, of course, but ultimately it's up to you to decide what you like best. So don't be afraid to experiment and try new things. You might be surprised at what you discover. For example, many people believe that red wine goes with everything, but that's not necessarily true. A nice crisp white wine can actually pair well with a variety of foods, including chicken, fish, and even some desserts. So don't be afraid to break the mold and try something different. You might just find your next favorite wine and food pairing. With these tips in mind, go forth and experiment in the kitchen and the wine cellar. Who knows? You might just become the next great wine and food pairing expert. Cheers!